Thank you. I'm asking the Minister here to address the situation of Mountmellick, which has been promised a relief road for a long number of years. It still hasn't happened, and it's very important that we get it. Mountmellick town has been neglected badly over the years in terms of infrastructure, and this has been talked about and promised for about 30 years. Various options have been looked at, Minister, in relation to which route to take. There was a route from beside what is the mill on the Portage Road. That has changed. There's a better route selected there now, and it needs to happen. And there was an announcement a couple of weeks ago, 663 million for roads projects, and I was delighted to see this. But when I checked the list down along, I checked the list here, and it has everywhere from Ballaghaderreen to Middleton and Youghal, but nowhere there's Mountmellick figure in this long list that's here. Indeed, Limerick has 4 different pieces of substantial infrastructure. Cork has 4, Limerick or Laois has 0. So this route is badly needed to connect the Portage Road to the Tullamore Road out of the town. And this is the main route, the N80 to Rosslare, County, which you were very interested in. And it's important that we can get vehicles coming from the west of Ireland use it, particularly HGVs. There's over 8,500 vehicles a day going through the centre of Mountmellick town. And, you know, as I said, a lot of those are HGVs. There's huge bottlenecks, particularly at the junction of Pearse Street and Sarsfield Street. It's really difficult for them to get articulated trucks around it. Very, very difficult. Indeed, the local hauliers and local hauliers association, they complain about it. It's also holding back the town, Minister, the fact that, you know, you have HGVs trundling through the town every day and traffic, and the middle of the town is hollowed out. That's the simplest way I can put it to you from a business point of view, because you can't stop to do anything in the town. It's not friendly to walk around. You know, it needs to be bypassed very badly. The feasibility study has been done. 105,000 has been spent on that, and the County Council have done their job. They've done the assessments, they've done the studies, the preferred route is there. So the local authority has done their job. And the benefits of this, now in the last government there may have been a bit of an ideological thing about not putting in a bypass, but let me inform you of this. This would shorten journeys, not just in distance but also in time, because this relief road would shorten the journey by nearly 60%, because you're cutting across country, you're not having to go in through the town and wiggle in and out through streets. This is a far shorter journey altogether. It will also have all new roads, as you know now, Minister, and is fully supported, have cycle lanes. You can't put in cycle lanes in the existing streets in the town. That's just a fact of life. It's too dangerous, and we need to get people using cycle lanes and using bicycles. So it's a really important project. You know, Mountmellick is a substantial town with a large population. You know, it is lacking in industry. It's lacking in infrastructure. You know, this would benefit Mountmellick. It would benefit people, you know, travellers and drivers, and particularly HGVs. And we need to get this moving, because the Port of Rosslare, as we know, particularly with Brexit, we know that now that there's a lot more freight going through Rosslare. The number of HGVs going through Mountmellick, County, and Minister has improved. So it's really important, and the port's been upgraded, if I'm correct in saying that. There's new infrastructure being put in there. So we do need to put in the roads to feed into that. This road is part of that. Thanks.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy, for raising this matter. Minister for Transport has asked me to take it on their behalf today. And of course, the Minister has responsibility for overall policy and exchequer funding in relation to the National Roads Programme. And once funding arrangements have been put in place with Transport Infrastructure Ireland, TII, under the Roads Acts and in line with the National Development Plan, the operation and the management of individual national roads becomes the matter of TII, in conjunction with the local authorities concerned, in this case, Laois County Council. TII ultimately delivers the National Roads Programme, and they do that in line with Project Ireland 2040 and the National Planning Framework, and most importantly, the NDP, the National Development Plan. The Government has earmarked €5.1 billion for capital spending on new national roads projects from 2021 to 2030, and that's all under the National Development Plan. This funding will enable improved regional accessibility across the country, as well as compact growth, which are key strategic outcomes. The funding will provide for the development of numerous national road projects, including the completion of projects which are already at construction stage and those close to construction stage, as well as the development of a number of other projects. As the greater proportion of this funding becomes available in the second half of the decade, this means that there's a constraint in the funding available for new projects this year. However, approximately €502 million of Exchequer capital funds have been provided for national roads through TII to local authorities so far this year. With regards to the Mountmellick Relief Road, Laois County Council have, as you've said, concluded the process of completing a preliminary appraisal of options in relation to a bypass of Mountmellick. An allocation contribution was provided to Laois County Council in 2020 to carry out a strategic assessment report. However, a proposed bypass of Mountmellick is not included amongst the projects that are identified for development during the period of the National Development Plan. Therefore, advancement of the proposed scheme cannot be accommodated in the National Roads Programme presently. But as you'll be aware, a review of the National Development Plan is currently being undertaken, and the outcome of this review will inform TII on the schemes to be progressed over the coming years, pending the availability of sufficient funding. So I suppose that the message, Deputy, is it's not included in the NDP at the moment. That's the constraint. But the NDP, as you'll be aware, is up for review currently, and I would urge you and the organisations and the resident associations you're working with in Mountmellick to use this opportunity to engage.
The billions that's there between 2026 and 2030, and yes, it didn't make it into the 20 to 2025 period, and we've come to the end of that now. But the new funding that was announced only just a number of weeks ago, it wasn't included in that. And I know some of the ones in the list, some of the ones that such as the Adair bypass, I know they're badly needed, but there's a long list of other ones there as well. But Mountmellick and Laois didn't seem to figure in it at all. And it does need to be included in the review for active consideration and inclusion. You've outlined the amount of money that's due to be spent between now and 2030, and I welcome that. The National Development Plan is the opportunity, and that will be signed off on by ministers. You know that. It'll be signed off on by the senior ministers and by the Cabinet. This project, by the way, is ready to go. You mentioned that projects are being funded that are already started, and some that maybe in a almost ready to go. This is ready to go. The studies have been done, so the groundwork has been done here. And I would just say to you as well, your party leader was down just before the election, and I always like to take people at their word, and along with Deputy Aird, gave a firm commitment, saw it quoted publicly before the election, that this would be built under the National Development Plan. And just, that you would remind Minister Darragh O'Brien and your party leader, Simon Harris, of the fact that, I've already said it to Deputy Aird, but you might remember, or you might give a reminder to the Taoiseach, Simon Harris, of the commitment, and people locally just really want to see that, particularly all the people who voted for Fine Gael and Fianna Fáil in Mountmellick. Thanks, Minister.
Thank you, Deputy Minister.
Thank you very much, Deputy. And Deputy, you'll be pleased to hear that Laois did figure in funding this year. An allocation of €1.147 million was provided to Laois County Council for national roads so far this year. That comprises of over €701,300 for capital protection and renewal, and €445,949 for current protection and renewal. So approximately €502 million of Exchequer capital funds has been provided to TII for national roads so far this year, and as you'll see, almost 1.2 million of that has been allocated for Laois County Council, which I'm sure you'll be pleased to hear. And that's in line with the NDP and with government policy. And in line with that, TII have sought to allocate national road funding to local authorities in a manner which seeks to achieve protection and renewal of existing national road networks, progression of major projects which are in or near construction, and I appreciate you saying that this could be a shovel-ready project if it were to be on the National Development Plan, but it's not. So the next step is to get it there if that's what you're looking for, and I'll absolutely remind Minister Darragh O'Brien and our Taoiseach Simon Harris that it's not currently on the NDP. And it also looks to progress major projects which are at an earlier stage of development in the pipeline. A number of these new road projects which are included in the current NDP have already been delivered, and that includes, for example, the N22 project, the Dunkettle interchange, the N5 Westport to Turla, and the bypass of Moycullen and Listowel. The programme for government commits to increased funding for new roads as part of the NDP review and to the maintenance of existing roads too.